Wow, so high. Looking up from the bottom of a high-rise apartment building. The sun is so dazzling, I can't see all the way to the top. This high-rise apartment. I have finally purchased a home on the 20th floor of this apartment building. Living the dream of a high-rise apartment life. I thought, am I really going to live here with my husband? I can't help but grin with joy. However, right after moving in, I was suddenly plunged into hell. My husband had invited his affair partner over. Then, he handed me a divorce paper saying, "Sign this, and please leave now." Can such a thing even be right? I couldn't keep up with the sudden change in situation. I was kicked out without even spending a week in my long-awaited high-rise apartment life. I challenged my husband to divorce negotiations. He signed the contract papers without reading them, being foolish and careless. I couldn't help but smirk to myself. After that, my husband and his affair partner ended up in a serious mess. My name is Gina. I'm a 38-year-old office worker. My husband, Aaron, is 10 years younger at 28. I have been working as a clerk at the same company since graduating from college. As my colleagues left one by one to get married, I ended up in a senior position. My joy is to go to a nearby diner during lunch break to eat a daily set meal. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that I worked every day just for this $5 pleasure. That's where I met my husband, Aaron. One day, the diner was full, and I ended up sharing a table with Aaron. He started a conversation with me, we hit it off. Exchanged contacts, started dating, and eventually got married. Aaron was working as a part-timer at a nearby construction site. It's strange for me, his wife, to say, but he is quite handsome and a bit frivolous. I still wonder why he chose me as a marriage partner. Could there have been younger, cuter girls around? However, Aaron would say, "I like you, Gina. I fell for your calm and steady demeanor. I'm also getting on in years, and I don't know if we can have children. And I'm not planning to quit my job. Is that okay?" "It's fine. Age difference doesn't matter." Saying so, my husband hugged my shoulders. Until I got married, I lived with my parents. I thought many times about moving out because it's embarrassing to depend on my parents at my age. But I wanted to save money. That's because there was something I wanted. It was a high-rise apartment. When I was over 35, thinking that marriage might be impossible, I set a goal to buy a high-rise apartment as my final abode and aimed to save $100,000. Oh, I hadn't told my husband yet. He seemed satisfied with our small apartment life. And didn't seem interested in high-rise apartments. The life with just the two of us in a small apartment was warm and satisfying. However, suddenly my husband took a certain action. It was about 3 years after we got married. Aaron finally became a full-time employee from a construction site part-timer. But his salary was almost the same as before. Fortunately, my salary had increased due to my years of service and performance. So together, we could barely make ends meet. One day, Aaron came home in a good mood, and the first thing he said was, "Gina, I've signed a contract for a high-rise apartment." My mind went blank. Today, I was walking and just happened to see a sign for a high-rise apartment model room. I had some extra time, and went in to kill time. Then I realized, high-rise apartments are amazing. It's a really tall building. He spoke enthusiastically, using gestures. I thought, amazing? What else? He really lacks vocabulary. But how did it end up with you signing a contract? Well, they said if I signed right away, they would include a TV and a fridge. It's a good deal, right? Aaron answered, looking satisfied. Even I had to hold my head in dismay at his foolishness. "You know, you've just fallen for a sales pitch. Buying a high-rise apartment requires a huge amount of money, down payments and loans. Do you understand? I explained slowly and carefully to him as if he were a child. Then he said, "Oh, that's fine. They said no down payment needed. It's a limited time offer." I found a really good deal, didn't I? He answered proudly, puffing out his chest. Wait a minute. No down payment means, it's not that we don't have to pay anything, but that it will be added to the loan, right? Did he understand that? It didn't seem like he did. What about the loan? Can you take out a loan? That's the thing, I'm young, so it's easy to get a loan. I'm working, after all, I don't really understand, but it seems okay. I only felt distrust. As usual, Aaron was probably sweet-talked by the salesperson and signed the contract without even reading it. Aaron has that kind of personality. Suddenly, my dream of a high-rise apartment felt like it had appeared before me, accompanied by a great deal of anxiety. When buying a high-rise apartment, we need to compare various places and think it over. It's not a cheap purchase, you know. But it's a really beautiful place. It's a very tall building. Gina, you'll definitely like it. Well, it's called a high-rise apartment because it's a tall building. If it wasn't tall, it would just be a regular apartment. There's so much to point out. Let's go see it together this Sunday. You'll definitely like it. All right. On Sunday, we went to see the high-rise apartment he had bought. Given its location and the surrounding environment, and the fact that it's on the top floor, there was nothing to complain about. Having worked hard to get a high-rise apartment since I was single, I really liked the property. It was a moment when happiness overcame anxiety. It's wonderful. Right? I have a good eye, don't I? Then, the salesperson came over. Hello. Thank you for coming today. You really are a very lucky person. Such a nice room would sell quickly. It's fate. Oh, and the loan has been approved under your name. You can live here anytime now. Gina. We did it. The application was approved. Aaron was as happy as if he had passed some kind of test. Well, it's good that the application was approved, but the real problem would start now. Did he understand about the repayments? I'm surprised it was approved. But, how many years is the loan for? Huh? It's for 35 years. 35 years? Wait a minute. I'll be nearly 80 years old by then. I can't work that long. It's okay. We'll manage somehow. I'm young. I felt a slight dizziness. 35 years. What is he thinking? Especially when I'm the one mostly paying for our current living expenses. His salary doesn't even reach $1,000. How does he plan to repay the loan with that? I'm really astounded by his lack of planning. It seems the only way is for me to dip into my savings and make an early repayment on the loan. I have to persevere. That's what I decided. But without knowing how I felt, Aaron took a shocking action. We moved immediately. We could live in the high-rise apartment I had longed for. Excited, I wanted to move in as soon as possible. Thus, we started our life in the high-rise apartment. One day, I was cleaning the house on my day off. Suddenly, Aaron came back home. Gina, I quit my job. He said this with a mischievous smile, as if he was embarrassed. What? What do you mean? Well, the boss changed. He stopped praising my work and started pushing only menial tasks on me. I just thought, that's enough, and said, I quit. Inside, I wondered, why does he always do this? I was at a loss for words because he had quit his job with no remorse or plan. Now listen, we have this loan for 35 years. And yet, you quit your job. Couldn't you have endured it a little longer? You're nagging. Don't worry. I'll start job hunting again soon. Don't worry, I'm still young, and I'll find something. Life will work itself out. I felt nothing but anxiety at his baseless reassurance. I added a night job and piecework to my current job, desperately working to contribute to the loan repayment. I was really being dragged around by his whims. Meanwhile, while I worked hard, he just fiddled with his phone and didn't look for a job. Instead, he locked himself in a room and played with his phone even more. It felt like I was the only one trying hard. I was utterly exhausted from my daily life. One day, I finished work early and wanted to take a nap, so I came home earlier than usual. I had a part-time job in the evening and piecework at night. I needed to rest whenever I could. What was he doing? Probably on his phone again? It would be nice if he was job hunting on the computer. I'm home. As I opened the front door, there were flashy high heels discarded there. I wondered, is it a visitor? Maybe someone from the building management? Or perhaps it's someone related to work? Hoping it was the latter, I headed to the living room, where I heard a woman's voice. This is super funny. I'm laughing so much. I thought, that's a very young woman's voice. When I opened the door, I was met with a shocking scene. A young woman was there. She was very flashy, heavily made up, and wearing a miniskirt. She looked like a gal. Moreover, she snuggled up to my husband. And they were laughing together while looking at his phone. They were even arm in arm. Excuse me. What are you doing? Who are you? I was so shocked that I stood there dumbfounded. Aaron noticed me. Oh, Gina. You're home early today. Welcome back. He greeted me as usual, as if nothing was wrong, without a hint of guilt. Your wife? Oh, an older wife, huh? Yeah, definitely older. Oh my, do you have gray hair? Saying this, she reached out with her flamboyantly decorated nails to touch my hair. I instinctively brushed her hand away. Hey, what's going on here? Who is this person? Oh, this is Jenny, my next wife. She's just 23 years old. Saying this, my husband and the flashy girl smiled at each other. What is happening? Is this a dream? So, I'm divorcing Gina today. So please leave. He told me this huge news in his usual tone. What? Also, here's the divorce paper. I've already signed it, so you just need to sign it and submit it to the law office. Wait a minute. What is this? Even as a joke, this is too much. Divorce? Why? He coldly responded to my panic. Do you think as you get older, your brain starts to slow down? Can't you see what's around you? You've always ridiculed me. I'm sick of being with someone older. I'm going to live here with her from today, so just sign the divorce paper. Do you understand now? What is this? I felt like I was seeing a side of him I never knew. That ruthless face and cold words. I never knew he had such a face. Then, with a smile, he shooed me away as if chasing away a dog. I stood there dumbfounded, unable to say anything. The girl named Jenny, staying comfortably and looking at the spectacular view from the window, said without any remorse, "Wow, it's super beautiful. Lucky to see this every day. Did this outrageous girl steal my husband? What was this situation? Jenny, did you approach my husband knowing he was married?" Of course. He was wearing a ring. Well, he approached me so strongly that I just went along with it. And living in a house like this, it's just what I wished for. Don't worry, I'll make him happy. Just go and submit the divorce papers, old lady. Saying that, she burst out laughing. Calling me an old lady, laughing repeatedly. Jenny's laughter was infuriating. But I was even more angered by my husband laughing along with her. However, Jenny is indeed young. Her style is impeccable, and her hair dyed a bright red shone glossy. Her skin was smooth and supple. A piercing shone from her belly button under her short t-shirt. Her toenails were painted perfectly. Meanwhile, I was disheveled from my busy work schedule. I always wear the same suit in subdued colors to work. I felt a void within myself. Even though you're around your 40s? Maybe if you'd taken a bit more care of your appearance, this wouldn't have happened. That knocked me out. I couldn't muster the energy to respond anymore. Aaron pushed me out of the door and locked it behind me saying, "Goodbye." Unable to resist or even bark back, I was robbed of my husband and the high-rise apartment. How did I even walk back? Before I knew it, I was at my parents' house. My parents were surprised by my sudden return. Seeing their faces, the tears I had been holding back overflowed. "What happened, Gina? Did something happen?" Even asked, I didn't want to recall that scene and couldn't explain. I just cried in my mother's arms. She sensed what had happened and let me cry to my heart's content. That day, I became so tired of everything and fell asleep, overwhelmed by fatigue. And woke up the next morning. Good morning. Someone had come. A familiar voice. A woman led by my mother came in. Samantha. Gina. Samantha is my childhood friend. She has always been very smart and now works respectably as a lawyer. It seems I had inadvertently brought the divorce paper signed by my husband when I returned home. Seeing this, my mother guessed there had been trouble between us. And thinking I would find it easier to talk to a professional and childhood friend than my parents, she had called Samantha over. "Gina, can you tell me what happened when you feel ready? How I married a man 10 years my junior, how he had unilaterally contracted a high-rise apartment. How he quit his job on a whim, leaving me to manage all the living expenses and the mortgage by myself. And how soon after moving, he brought his mistress home and abruptly pushed the divorce papers on me, forcibly kicking me out. I told her everything. Samantha and I got angry with them together." "I see. Got it. Let's give them what they deserve. These two who have caused Gina so much pain." With that, she started the procedures immediately. She drafted a divorce agreement. "We'll write the conditions here. Then, if they sign it, that's okay. From what I've heard, this is the best way to deal with your ex-husband. She's such a dependable friend. I'm lucky to have such a friend. First, you'll claim alimony against your ex-husband. If he should delay the payment, the court could seize their assets. This will probably force your ex-husband to give up the high-rise apartment. Gina, you just need to get their signatures on this document. I know it's hard to meet them again, but this is to teach those two a lesson." Samantha took my hand and said, "You can do it." The following day, I went to the high-rise apartment. When I rang the bell, Jenny, a gal, dressed in an apron, came out. "Oh, it's the old lady. Good timing, I was just about to get rid of your belongings. My clothes won't fit because of them. So I was just going to throw them away. Come on in." Jenny was completely acting like a resident here, and I was treated like a visitor. "Old lady, want some juice?" She was using what used to be my kitchen as if it were her own. It was frustrating. I wouldn't forgive her. "Where's Aaron?" "I'll call him now." Jenny mockingly called out to Aaron in a wifely manner, smirking, "Honey? I managed to suppress the anger bubbling up inside me, and in front of the two of them, I handed over the agreement that Samantha had prepared. What's this? I'll agree to the divorce. But I want you to sign this. Aaron sighed with annoyance as he looked at the document filled with complex words and fine print. Aaron, who isn't the brightest, obviously couldn't read it. He quickly grabbed a pen and said, "So I just need to sign this, right?" Everything was going according to plan. The other party was someone who would contract a high-rise apartment on a whim without thinking it through. There was no way he would check every detail of this agreement. I confirmed his signatures and said, "Thank you. I'm going to submit the divorce papers now." Aaron and Jenny celebrated in front of me, hugging each other. They should enjoy it while they can. Once I submit the divorce papers, I won't come here ever again because this high-rise apartment will be under your name. We'll be strangers from now on. We will have nothing to do with each other. Other procedures will be handled through my lawyer." Aaron paused at the word procedures, but then smiled and said, "Well, okay. He's foolish, but let's give him credit for reacting to the word procedures at the end." The call from my ex-husband came sooner than expected. He was furious. "Hey, what's this bill? This alimony is way too high. That's the amount calculated by the lawyer. Make sure you pay it in full." "Hey. There's no way I can pay for this. I have loans too." "You're too scary, you know." He always has an excuse, ignoring what he has done. Thinking I would bail him out if he says he can't do it or he can't understand. Start taking some responsibility. If you don't have the money, borrow it from your parents or something. It's none of my business. Don't bother me about it. We're strangers now. Just pay the money, understood? Discuss the rest with the lawyer." With that, I hung up and blocked his number. The document stipulated a lump sum payment for the alimony. I wondered what he would do next. Sure enough, I got a call from my mother-in-law. "Gina, my son says he needs money and wants to borrow some. Do you know anything about this?" She sounded clueless, even though I had told Aaron to explain things to his parents. That idiot. Exactly. Reluctantly, I explained the whole situation to her. "I mean, can't something be done about the alimony?" "No, it can't. But you got along with my son before." "Maybe just a little." "You are not wrong at all, but I'm sorry, your son shattered my heart. I can't compromise on this. Plus, I already have his signature. Please make sure the lump sum payment for the alimony is made." I could hear her crying, but I'm not so kind as to feel sympathy at this point. A few days later, when I went to the bank, the alimony had been paid in full. It seems Samantha intervened, and after hearing everything, my in-laws were furious and confronted Aaron and Jenny. By then, the two were already fighting over the alimony. Because he signed the documents without reading. He was overwhelmed by the large amount of alimony, and he had fallen out of favor with Jenny. Moreover, my in-laws suggested selling the high-rise apartment to pay for the alimony. Aaron had no choice but to leave the high-rise apartment. Jenny was not in love with Aaron. She just wanted to live with him in the high-rise apartment. In fact, she didn't care about him at all. Jenny just wanted to play house in the high-rise apartment with its beautiful view. As expected, Jenny left the house calling him a fool. Aaron lost everything and ended up returning to his part-time job life. He always said, "I'm young." But he's not young anymore. He can't be picky about part-time jobs anymore. Plus, he's not the sharpest tool in the shed. The rumor is that he became an old nightclub worker. Just thinking about him being called old man, by young people makes me laugh. Maybe I should visit him as a customer. But I won't. With the alimony collected, I have purchased a vintage apartment. No more high-rise apartments for me. My new home is a vintage apartment, 10 years old but renovated, with perfect location conditions. It never looks outdated. After learning about it on social media, my goal became a vintage apartment. And being good at saving, I acquired it quickly. Samantha, who supported me, often comes to visit. Since she's also single, she's been suggesting we might live together here. Lately, I've been thinking that might be a good idea. Spending our later years together as friends might not be so bad. I recently treated my supportive parents to a short trip to a lake. I'm surrounded by wonderful people and feel happy. In a way, I could find this happiness thanks to my ex-husband and that girl. I plan to keep smiling into the future.